Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sticks and Sips. I am Frankie Dranks, your host for tonight, the Drew Estate Virtual Happy Hour. Welcome back. Oh my God, we're gonna have an amazing evening. We have amazing guests as we always do, but tonight's extra special. And listen, this is the time that we get a chance to get together and smoke a little Drew Estate, sip a little something delicious, and it is our moment. This is our Wednesday night, and as I like to say, this could be our Willy Wednesday night because he kind of owns the space. So tonight, we're living in Willy's world, and I'm gonna say welcome to all you guys. Make sure you check in from your neighborhoods, and those neighborhoods happen to be all over the U.S., all over the globe, as well as we have some beautiful people checking in from all over uh, the globe. For all you flat earthers, that have chapters all over the globe, check in too. We love you as well, and I want to say super like thanks. We've got such a great show tonight, but like everything else, we have great giveaways as well. So all you got to do is ask hashtag Ask Frankie Drinks. You got a great question. We pick your question. You get some beautiful swag. And tonight we're doing the little Herrera Esteli swag, little Sticks and Sips swag. And for those of you guys, one of a kind. So come get it. Ask your questions and listen. What's a virtual happy hour without a happy hour menu? So I'm going to ask my man Jack, throw up that beautiful happy hour menu. Listen, guys, tonight I've got the simplest of cocktails, man. Balveni neat. That's what we can enjoy. Neat is my cocktail. And so enjoy. Our sips are the Balveni Week of Peat. And our sips guest is none other than our good friend Neil Strachan from the Balveni. And we've got two glorious, glorious guests from Drew Estate. We have my man, the master blender. We've got Willy Herrera, and we got my man K Mac from up in the Northeast. And you guys know my co host, my man Joey Drew. So he's on with us. And listen, let me go into the Zoom lounge and say hello. Let me start with Joey, man. Joey, you heard the mandate, with the Liga A's, but you're going against the grain as you typically do, or is that a manifesto?
It's a manifesto.
Oh, beautiful.
He said to put those away too, but I said nah.
Well, listen, you do what you need to do. Joey, I'm super honored to have you back as my, my right hand man, keeping the ship afloat and keeping us going forward for I don't know 40 something episodes. Uh, it's all good.
I'm feeling rowdy tonight.
You're
Oh
feeling
boy.
rowdy tonight, man. I can feel it. I can feel it. I
Rowdy.
can feel that energy, man. That little pent up energy.
A couple sips in, and yeah, it's probably good that we're not all together.
Listen, I'm looking forward to the days we can all be together. So, without further ado, the star attraction of this evening, Mr. Neil Strachan from the Balveni.
How are you doing, everyone? And yeah, thank you very much for having me on again, Frank. It's a absolute pleasure to be on. And this evening, I'm going Undercrown Churchill's. Now, we had a little bit of a disaster. I upgraded the hotel room. I got a balcony specifically for this so I could be smoking, drinking with you guys. But for 2 days in a year that it rains in San Diego, one of those is today. So I'm sitting inside because it's too rowdy outside for me to be on a Zoom. You would not be able to hear me with the wind blowing, but it means it's a perfect whiskey day in freezing cold San Diego at the moment. So
Freezing cold San Diego. So I say slancha to you, my man. Thank you so much for joining us. Next up, I got my man K-Mac, Kevin McCormick from Drew Estate joining us. He's making his glorious debut tonight. Kevin, how you doing, brother?
Too bad, man. It's warm 44 degrees at the north end of the Jersey Shore. No complaints. I only have one jacket on tonight instead of the vest. The cap is on, hood is down. So ready to tip a few and see what we're gonna burn tonight.
There we go, man. You know, always ready to tilt. And I know you're a big Balveni fan, and it's
And you
good to
turned me
see
into
you.
one.
You listen, we try to spread
Salud.
the love, and it's a great place to be. So salute to you. And last but not least, in the Zoom, my man, Master Blender for Drew State, Willy Herrera, man. How you doing, brother?
What's up, kiddo? Good to be here, man. All good over here, man. Just another day, brother.
Just another
Excited
day.
about this one.
Just another day smoking undercrowns, sipping the Balveni and having a great time, man. You know, what else can I say? Listen, Willie, I'm gonna, say thank you for being on, but I've got to get to my cocktail, man. So, for everybody that's out there, in Facebook landia that's ready to see me
This is a
do
difficult
this
one.
glorious cocktail,
This is
so
tough.
here you go, man. This one's called Neat is my cocktail. So you grab some of the best freaking Balveni, get your hands on, and this I've got the week of Peat, and down in South Florida, I don't know about Neil, but in my hood, we like to do like a little 2 ouncer, and then and spill it all over the counter as it's trying to get into that Glencairn glass, and no worry, I'll sop that up a little bit with a cracker or something. So this is it, man. This is the beauty of the week of Pete, and we're gonna celebrate that. You guys are gonna learn a little more. So I'm gonna ask everybody raise your glass with us tonight and enjoy your sips. So cheers to everybody, and
All right. So wait, I have to
What-
interrupt. Is it the Balveni or the Balveni? Where did we leave off?
I'm
all
sa-
right.
I'm saying the second option there sounds pretty legit,
Okay.
but nobody's ever going to give you into trouble as long as as long as you're getting that Balvenie somehow, as long as it's wet, you're going to be happy.
Sounds
There we go. So, great transition because I'm jumping right in. I'm jumping right into the pool, man. I'm so excited to have Neil back. If you guys tuned in last year, we talked about all the beautiful age. We have the 12 to 14 to 17 um, that are beautiful expressions of the Balvenie. But tonight we dip into something that's truly cool tonight, Neil. Where we're we're jumping into story series. So for everybody out there, I want to have the pleasure of introducing you. Neil is the Balveni regional ambassador. Uh, he represents these beautiful brands. He's a brand educator. He's able to relay the story, right? The story of the distillery. And I'm super happy to have you on. So welcome back, my brother.
Oh, thank you very much. And as advertised with my picture, we were supposed to have another stories over for you guys to try, but sadly, it hasn't arrived yet, which just means the whole session is going to be smoky, smoky, and smoky. Because what we're drinking tonight is the Balvenie 14-year-old Week of Peat. Now, at the Balvenie, my job's super easy because our liquid's okay. Our liquid is something that is really easy for just about anyone to enjoy. And if you haven't tried the Balvenie, bang, it's one to start with. It's a great starting point for Scotch, but anyone that's an expert and knows whiskies will still come back to it and know it for class. But we make our whiskey in a really honest fashion. And one of the things that we're super proud of is that people make our whiskey. So from the grain to glass, so grain to bottling, essentially, we have people making our whiskey. And we really feel that that makes a difference between good and great. Now, we know the Balvenie 12, gosh, I'm struggling. The 12 double wood, 14 Caribbean cask, and the 17. So nicely displayed there by Frank. But we just released in the last year or so a range called the Stories range, and it tells the story of these people that make our whiskey, ranging from 27-year-old women all the way up to 80-year-old men that made our whiskey. And this whiskey is a story of really, I think, when like two of our makers of our whiskey got bored of making whiskey in the normal fashion, because round about this time in the early 2000s, a chap called David Stewart, who's our whiskey maker, whose signature is on every single bottle, the longest serving whiskey maker in the industry. And then the man that finally hired me to do this job, another real whiskey legend, Ian Miller, who was formerly the Glenfiddich ambassador, but he managed Dufftown, our site in Dufftown for years. And they said, Ian came back from a trip to the West Coast. West Coast whiskies in Scotland, famous for, Lafroig, Lagavulin, Talisker, peated, smoky whiskies. But the Balveni isn't. The Balveni is really stylized by honey and vanilla. So Ian comes back from the West Coast and he says to David, why don't we peat our whiskey anymore? Why don't we dry the grain? So in the process of changing the grain from barley into malted barley, you soak it, you let the germination happen, and you want to stop that germination. And you do that by heat. At the Balveni, we dry it mostly our grain with anthracite, which is smokeless coal. But in the early 2000s, Ian Miller and David Stewart start playing around with peat and burning peat, which is essentially soil, wet, moist soil cut from peat bogs. It's dried, and when you burn it, it gives off a reek, as we would call it in the northeast of Scotland. And that reek penetrates a wet grain as it's drying, and it gives you smoky tasting barley. So if you process that, you get smoky tasting whiskey. Now, what we have here is Speyside peat. So it's slightly different to the West Coast peat, where all of that's made up with maritime kind of things. The peat's dug from the Highlands, 40 odd miles away from the sea. It's heather, it's pine trees that made up the backbone of this. And it's just a great whiskey. I think that the big difference in, if you're talking West Coast peat and a Speyside peat, this is a little bit more floral. And certainly for you guys that, are smokers, I think you're going to always smell different notes in the smoke. And certainly this has a lot less iodine kind of medicinal character to it. It's just that bit kind of, I would say more kind of like floral.
It's a lot more balanced. It's a lot more balanced than the Isla stuff for sure. Where the it's not, with the Isla scotches, the smoke is really omnipresent, aggressive, really on your face, and this is a much more balanced, subtle, super tasty. Really tasty.
And it's not a whiskey I have to work with that often. This is a very much a niche kind of proposition for us, because let's be honest, a lot of times with whiskey drinkers, you either like a Speyside kind of style, nice, kind of fruity, robust, or you like something smoky and you're a smokehead. And it's a funny kind of ground to sit in. And this is really for the people that like something different, enjoy the quality of the Balveni that shines through that sweetness, but just a different type of smoke on it. And we're really honest about the smoke on this as well, that when we're processing it, we're giving everyone the peat phenols. And when you hear people talking about smoky whiskies like Lafroig or Lagavulin, you hear them talking like numbers 50 or 55 parts per million. And that's where Lagavulin or Lafroig sit. An Octomore is like 280, 300, but there's no rules on where you take that number from. So that number can come out of someone's ass, it doesn't really make a difference, but we give you kind of both. So we're giving you, it's 22 parts per million before it goes into cask. And by the time it's sat in cask, it's only down to about 11 parts per million. So just a really small amount of peatedness, but it's amazing how much it fills. And tell you something, I thought it was going to over smoke me a little bit with the Undercrown Churchill, but shit, it works really well. Like really, really well. I'm needing to get back out to that blowing balcony to enjoy the rest of it. Can I clock off for like 20 minutes, guys?
Absolutely. As soon as this segment's done, you can catch the rest of it from the balcony. And what I'm going to say is, so do we call it the balcony or the balcony? Just to kind of get it right. I just don't want to make any errors. Dude, I'm quite funny when I want to be. But listen, I've got my little, for those of you guys that are watching, I've got my little peat, malting floor here in my little like Scott. I don't know if you can see this, uh, Neil. I've actually got a little piece of peat that's burning inside of here, and we're
Yeah, the
talk
whole
about
office
Pete
smells
Reek.
sweet. Yeah,
Talk about Pete Reek.
yeah.
So
Thanks.
as we'd say in the northeast of Scotland, your lum is reeking. So your lum is your chimney. So it's reeking away. But honestly, where did you get that from? Because I'm struggling to see why anyone in the world has that thing, but it's amazing. Is it like a butter dish that like someone poked a
So,
hole
so,
in, or
so,
what is it?
uh, so the beauty of Amazon, and if you search on the internet, it's this little thing, right? That has it's called the Scottish peat incense burner set, and it comes with a couple of pieces of peat, and it has this little lovely house and this little like spot where you can light up this little tiny chunk of peat. Whether it's peat or not, God knows, but it definitely smells like peat. I found this like I need this in my life, and so it was beautiful to just have that little essence going on as I'm having this beautiful expression because not only is stories a different, it's kind of like dialing into the different from the factory that produces these beautiful whiskeys. But I want you to go back a little bit and tell us the story of actually Balveni.
Yeah, so the Balveni Distillery starts off with William Grant and sons. William Grant, his 7 sons, 2 daughters, with the help of a stonemason, building Glenfiddich. So we all know Glenfiddich, the biggest selling single malt in the world, fantastic fruity juice. They're basically our older brother. So they're like our basically annoying sibling, they're the big time. And we've kind of gone under the radar a little bit quietly over the years. And it was 5 years after William Grant and Sons built Balvenie built Glenfiddich, that the opportunity came to buy a mansion, and a mansion that was next door to Glenfiddich with a little bit of land around it. But that mansion, that house, was called New Balveni Castle. Now, on the other side of the Glenfiddich distillery, there's an old castle that was originally built in the 1200s. A lot of history on there. It's also known as Balveni Castle. So you'll see the name Balveni commonly around Dufftown. But the house itself was perfect for malting barley. So to make single malt Scotch, you have to change the barley into malted barley. Basically, through a germination process and drying. That's going to give you sugars inside it and some enzymes to kickstart fermentation. But this house and the floor plan of it was perfect for a floor maltings. You had somewhere to store the grain, you had somewhere to soak it, and then you had a layer to kind of basically spread it out to let that germination happen. So a really important part of the distillery was already made. So they built the rest of the distillery around that. And then really ever since then, we've made whiskey in the same way from that site, which is really easy to remember because it's on the top of the bottle. 1892, they started building, and it wasn't until the next year, March the 1st of the next year, when they managed to get liquid off those stills. But really the only changes since then is that mansion got knocked down. In 1923, it was knocked down and a custom-made floor maltings was made. And really from then onwards, it hasn't really changed much. You won't see any fires under the stills anymore. Now they're like steam coils. But other than that, it's kind of stayed the same. And with our first single malt being released in 1973, before then it was all blended liquid. And our whiskey maker, who's on the bottle, David Stewart, he's really been the only person that's ever made the Balvenie. So pioneering things like the Balvenie Classic, which was the first ever finished whiskey. David made that. And Balvenie is just a whiskey that brings a smile to people's faces. And David is so synonymous with that. So it's amazing to be associated with David and, Now he's 58 years working for us. Can anyone here even imagine holding down just one job in their life for 58 years? God, I struggled to hold down jobs for less than 2 months in the past. So,
Willy is working on 58 years. So Willy, you need to live to
Almost,
200.
there, bro.
So,
Almost there. 10 down,
you know,
10 down, another 48 to
10
go.
down, a 48 to go, man. We could do this. We could
Hey,
do
me and
this. I believe in you.
K-Mac are like at 20 apiece at this point.
I got 40 years to go and change, and Joey's got about 38, so we're good.
And that's coming from K-Mac, who's one of our longest employees, who's been with us for about 18 years. So he's only got like a short, what is it, 2 score to go for us, so only another 40 years, K-Mac. We got this. We got your retirement plan going. So but Neil, I love to hear the story of David Stewart, because it's such a legend in the whiskey world. Not only because his longevity, because longevity is one part, but the quality of the items he touches is truly phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's, I've been so fortunate that before living in America, I lived in Asia. And as the only kind of token Scotsman there, whenever David was over, it was my duty to look after him. So I got to spend weeks with this, for many he's just a complete and utter whiskey legend. And really to me now, he's just a friend, and I can phone him up at any time and spent so much time with his wife. And what always I love doing with spending time with David, I'll find when I'm hosting a tasting a week or so later, I'll be talking and there'll be something new. I'll have like some new kind of like knowledge. And all I thought I was talking about David with was like third tier Scottish soccer, that we didn't really seem to be talking about whiskey because we're just pals, but every time you just learn so much amazing things from him. And when you think of when he started with us in 1963, the world was blended Scotch. And, nobody drank single malt other really than us hardy Highlanders up north that was needing something that was a bit bigger, richer, robuster. Because the only like blended whiskey is essentially just a lighter, softer version, easier for mixing, some very good blends out there, but it's just a different style. Whereas single malt is bigger, richer, robuster. And that's kind of why I always drank it. I like that kind of kick from the alcohol. But David really pioneered what single malt was, because with the first bottling of Glenfiddich in 1963, which was the first single malt to be internationally marketed, David's one of very few individuals that are still making whiskey that grew up from the blending days. So being taught the art of blending in the old traditional sense to growing into what single malt would be. And really, I think when you're out there and to kind of put David into like a pedestal almost, when you walk into any one of your favorite liquor stores around the world and you see all that line of Scotch, whether it's blended, whether it's world whiskey, Taiwanese, American whiskey, bourbons, David has helped shape what that is by being the man that made Glenfiddich the biggest selling in the world, making the Balveni really what it is, and pulling together all that hard work from the people at the distillery so we can enjoy it. And he's really helped shape everything that we like drinking whiskey wise. So we should raise that. I would hope he's in his bed right now in Scotland, but David,
Right.
thank you very much.
To David.
I'm running low. I'm gonna come back in for a refill.
All right. I got you. So this is how we roll. So come back in. One of the things I was privileged to be on Robert and Graham, which is a beautiful retailer for us in the UK, and to be on with Dave Stewart and just don't get angry. So
How did
You
you
know
how did
that.
you get the magic arms coming in? That is Jack. What are you doing in
Listen,
the background there? That is a
listen. That's all Jack. That's all Jack making that happen. Listen,
Camera magic.
listen. The week of Pete, for those of you guys that are gonna look for it online, and Jack, um, listen, we definitely want to put out there in our chat, because we got a chat going on the side. And listen, you guys need to get a hold of the week of Pete. Look for it on at your favorite retailer. For the price, it truly is just a beautiful, beautiful expression of whiskey. It's very different. And Neil, um, I want to say this as as a quasi whiskey guy, right? Because I don't want to wear that freaking hat, not like you, which that Six and Sips hat looks very handsome on you, by the way. Um, it's and to echo something Joey said, this is not an Isla. This is not an Isla peated. It's kind of this beautiful expression of, and I could say a space side peated, which is different in its nature, and completely provides a different experience. So I would say if you want to go the road of exploring the peateds, the week of peat is a lovely, I call it a rest stop on that journey,
Yeah, it's very
because you
totally
go ahead,
special.
Joe.
No, it's really special. I mean, I guess, and then listening to Neil talk about the different peat that you have in that region compared to Isla, which is really cool. So then it actually brings into my mind, like when I first took a few sips, you notice that right away. The peatedness, it's different. And initially you can't understand why, but now hearing why makes sense. There's this woody, charred note that kind of comes in after that caramel kind of vanilla washes over. All of a sudden, this like robust little bit of char just kind of goes, here I am. You know, it's really, really nice. Super stuff.
Right.
Well,
And I want to say this, Neil. We talk about Ian Miller, and kind of going back because it's this 14-year-old, product that we're enjoying. The boldness to say let's take a different step from our core, and let's do something different. And I think that's what's about the storyline, correct? It's a different step in that journey.
Yeah, and one thing with the stories range is that it allows us, yeah, one to share, some of the kind of exciting things that the people have experimented with, but also the people. So I'm sure a couple of you guys on here have met Gemma Patterson, our global ambassador now, but she was once in the East Coast. And with the stories range, she's built podcasts for each one of these bottles for you guys to dive in back home to find out more about these stories. And this the wonderful thing that being family owned and having people making our whiskey allows for is one, mistakes. Sometimes mistakes happen that can be really bad. Sometimes it can make something really wonderful, or it can be planned, utilizing their skill and years and expertise, trying something like peat and going, oh, we can pull this back together. And it's been such a privilege to share those stories. But I think if you dive on and find the stories podcasts on Spotify, you will you'll have some fun listening to the guys back home at the distillery, because truly, as you can imagine, with any industry similar to ours, you've got a lot of characters working there. And what's funny is the first three were just podcasts, so there was no possibility of subtitles on there. But for the fourth and fifth stories that we're doing, and we've just released another one recently. Sadly, your samples aren't with you, but enjoy them when they come.
we will.
It's a video because we needed subtitles some stuff, because although I might sound a little bit Scottish on my accent, there is nothing here that sounds like the boys back home for the northeast of Scotland. And everything's altogether a little bit thicker and a little bit more throaty. So, and
Absolutely. As I've listened to the podcast, I will say, listening to Gemma is always wonderful, and as she brings in the other characters, it's a little difficult,
Yeah.
and but nonetheless completely enjoyable to figure out that how in context, we figure out what he was trying to say. Edge of Burnhead Wood, love that episode where we talked about the heather and going through what that was like to produce that product and everything else that's coming in that line. And um I think for us, and I'm going to get to Willie next, and we're going to talk about the people, right? The people. And that's really what makes our product special. And I celebrate the story series with you, Neil, in that it celebrates the people behind the brands. And that's a beautiful thing. And so I'm going to raise a glass to you.
Cheers to that.
And,
please raise it to the boys back home at the distillery and boys and girls back at
absolutely,
the distillery, because gosh, things
absolutely.
are easy.
And this is Women's Month, so we'll celebrate all the ladies at the distillery as well, because they make this beautiful product shine for us, and it's something for that we can enjoy. So I would say slancheva. So
Sláinte.
I want to know what Willie thinks. Willie, what do you think of this sucker? You're down in that thing, man. Look at you go.
Dude,
eh,
I've never been a big, peaty guy, but like Neil was saying, it's not that typical peatiness that you would expect. You think, in my mind, I'm thinking peat is just one thing, and this is just a nice touch. It's a nice introduction into it, into that world. Like, Frank was saying, that rest stop. It's super enjoyable, and it's going down smooth. It's you pick up all those notes that those vanilla notes in the beginning, and then it's kind of subsides, and you get that charred oak, like you were saying, and it's just super enjoyable, man. And I've tried a bunch of other scotches out there and whiskeys out there, and something about that intense peat that I can't handle it. It just it's not my thing. But this is a great introduction into that. Very similar to like beers, right? Those IPAs out there. There's certain IPAs out there that I've tried. I'm like, oh, okay, this is not that bad. Yeah, and then you kind of graduate from there. And this to me is kind of the same thing. It's a real nice introduction into this world that you could just keep going from there, man.
well, Willie, I'm gonna stop you right there, because listen, hashtag Ask Frankie Drinks. I know you've got a ton of questions, so you can go hashtag Ask Neil Drinks, and hit me with those questions, and we'll pick the 5 best questions tonight. Um, so keep it coming. Neil, I want to say thank you for being on. And I'm going to tell you, listen, this is the moment where you get to pour yourself a fresh pour, go right back outside on that patio, and we're good, man. So go enjoy that Undercrown Maduro, and we'll come back with you in a little bit, but we want to give you a chance to enjoy. And I'm going to give the floor over to my man. Needs no introduction, man. He is the master blender for Drew Estate. My man, Willy Herrera. Willie, just so given the choice tonight, it was like, what do we do? Right? We touched upon the 12, the 14, the 17 in the last episode, and it said, like, hey, let's do the story series thanks to Neil. He said, let's do the stories because the stories of the production people, right? But more importantly, we went kind of left field here. Balveni, the 1 week the 1 week of Peat, you know. So I chose this because I know that you've got the mastery over that rolling floor, brother.
Hey
And
man, at
you
the
you
end of
can
the
tell us the
day,
stories about it.
at the end of the day, it's like Neil was saying, man, it's you could create the best thing in the world, but it's up to that factory floor and that team in the factory to continue to make that thing that you came up with, you know. And oftentimes, you know, you come up with something, you kind of trying to achieve one certain thing, and you talk to that one confidant that you have. In my case, would be Yesenia out there in the factory floor, oversees all the production, and I'm like, man, I'm not getting this certain thing I'm looking for. And she's like, well, what's the blend? And I'll tell her, well, I'm using this wrapper, this binder, this Ligero, this Seco, this Viso, and how much of each or whatever. And she's like, well, maybe you should try swapping this Viso for this Viso from this farm. Or, you know, we got these samples of this other tobacco from, you know, Hamatran, and let's try this, and it might work better with what the tobaccos that you have in there now to achieve that profile that you're looking for. So, you know, after all that's done, man, you know, the team is the one that takes charge of that, because I'm not in the fact, you know, in Nicaragua year round. I'm back here in the States visiting accounts and visiting people, and you know, and it's up to them. They're the ones that gotta follow that menu. They're the ones that gotta place those leaves in that blend in a certain way in that bunch when they're creating that bunch and picking those tobaccos that go into that mold before the wrapper gets placed on the cigar. You know, there's a certain way that those tobaccos get placed on there, depending what tobaccos it is. One of them might have to go first, and then the other ones go after that, or one has to go right in the middle, and then the other ones all around that. So at the end of the day, man, if you the people in that factory aren't doing what needs to be done for that blend to be how it was intended to be, you're nowhere, man.
Well, listen, Willie. I'm gonna jump over to the Undercrown, right? Which
Hmm.
was, it's our born on the factory floor, right? It's that story of the,
Right.
of creating something from our people, and that's kind of like what follows a little bit with Balveni's story series. It's about our people, and so tell us a little bit about the Undercrown, and how that came to be.
Dude, so in a nutshell, you know, they were smoking too many of our Liga Privadas, and you know, we had to kind of put a stop to them, to that. And we're like, look, man, we understand you love this cigar, but you need to come up with something else to smoke, because we're not getting enough in the States to sell. And so they basically got together and, you know, worked on blends and landed on this one blend that they were like, oh, okay, now we can switch over, and this is what we're going to smoke now, day in and day out. And you know, that Undercrown was born, you know, like the story says. It's no lie, it was born on the factory floor. And you know, the rest is history, man. You know, it's everything that's
Right.
come out of that after, whether it's the sun grown or the Undercrown Connecticut shade, or as it's known, the Undercrown shade. You know, that's been blends that I then have worked together with the floor to create those blends based off of what they're thinking, what they're liking, you know, and what their expression of that cigar should be, you know, as opposed to a lot of the other blends, you know, that I worked on and then handed over to the team to smoke. This was something worked together with everybody on that floor to come up with what they felt needed to be.
Well, listen, Willie, we're talking like, we're talking David Stewart level type shit here, right? uh, where David Stewart works with these beautiful whiskeys, and you're working with our beautiful team that has access to all these beautiful tobaccos. And Jack, I'm gonna ask, do we have the slide for the Undercrown Maduro? Um, just for so everybody can see the beauty of an Undercrown Maduro. and it starts with our wrapper, Willie. What our wrapper is a uh a
It's a
beautiful.
beautiful Mexican San Andres, man. One of my favorite rappers, man. I've, and I have a great funny story how I was introduced to that rapper, because that was back in the day, way before Drew Estate, and uh, as everybody knows, or mostly everybody knows, I started my family's factory over here in Miami, and a friend of mine had his little factory getting started down the street, and he had some cigars, or he had his line at that time, but he wanted to do something special for some guests that were coming to visit him. And so he had gotten his hands on some of this Mexican San Andres wrapper. And so he asked me to, hey man, can you do me a favor? I'm in a pinch. Can you put this wrapper on these cigars for me? I'm like, sure, man, bring it over. So he brings it over, drops it off at the factory. I prepare it, get it ready to put it on the cigars. And then I had a bunch of tobacco left over. And I called him up and said, hey man, your cigars are ready, but I have a bunch of, this wrapper leaf left over. What do you want me to do with it? He goes, oh man, just play with it and, have fun, whatever. So I'm like, okay. So that was my first introduction to Mexican San Andres. Being in Miami, and as you know, Frank, Little Havana, you're kind of limited to, especially at that time in our lifespan, to who we knew, what growers we knew, what we had access to as far as tobaccos and stuff like that. So, dude, I started playing with that tobacco, and I fell in love with that tobacco, and I came up with a fantastic blend for for us in the factory. But now the problem was, how the hell do we get more tobacco? How do I get more of this? So I go back to my buddy, and I'm like, hey bro, I need to bale this stuff, man. This is amazing tobacco. And he said, oh bro, I can't, this was a favor that was done to me. And if that person ever found out that I gave you some of this tobacco to play with, bro, it would be long story short, that tobacco came from Drew Estate, and it was tobacco that John had hooked up that buddy of ours in Miami to work with, who then I ended up with, who then I ended up working with Drew Estate. So it's a crazy story, man. Full circle.
Full circle, my man. And it's like the beauty of the Underground Maduro and Joey. I kind of need you here because
I'm over here though. Wait, I'm over here in this.
yeah, yeah. Don't get
It's
angry.
all
I
right.
know
You're,
you
you're,
got
you're
this.
almost ready for a refill, man.
This
Yeah,
is the
he's almost
refill.
ready for a refill. My man Neil's enjoying a Underground Churchill, which I believe is the way to go, brother. When you're having this beautiful week of peat, because of that beautiful richness, and we got Connecticut broadleaf binder in that as well, and we have this beautiful blend that's being part of the Underground series, and it many times becomes part of us, as we're celebrating Joey. We're celebrating Undercrown 10
It is
sometime
10 years.
soon,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is 10 years since the birth of that brand, and it's an amazing journey. It's amazing to have in the cigar world, you see a lot of brands that come and go in under 10 years. You see them come on, they're hot, 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 and then they disappear into the clearance bins of the world. And Undercrown has really stayed the course, and we've built upon the brand. Uh, and that's kudos to Willy and the team. And all of Drew Estate it's not a one man show. It's a team, man, all through and through. Nobody can do what they do without somebody else alongside of them. And that's the beauty of the Underground Maduro, is that it truly came together from a group of people working together in the factory. Say, no, we're going to make something for us to smoke, and then we stole it from them and we turned it into a brand, and you know
We took
So
it to the
Neil,
next
don't
level.
don't do this to your people. Don't steal the brands that they make. For them.
no, you
Don't do
can't
what
make
we
it for
do.
yourself anymore. We need to make it for all these people that don't want it. Yeah. No, it's really great. You know what's really great, and Willie touches on it with the San Andreas. I really hadn't smoked a lot of San Andreas stuff prior to uh, We had played with it a little bit with Chateau Real. We had a Maduro there. But then Willy also uses a very similar San Andreas on his Norteño. And it's amazing how different those cigars are. Even side by side, it's such a difference. It's an amazing leaf. There's a lot of great stuff you can do with it. And in the different blends you apply underneath, to make it shine in different ways.
And I would ask Willie, the rest of the blend is a combo of Nicaraguan, we're talking Brazilian, that's becoming part of what you're taking in, and like Neil's having his Churchill out there, and he's gonna have his 3 lives with that cigar, right? So at every third, it's going to turn a little bit, So, Willie, when we're talking about Undercrown, brother, what are some of the things that for people that haven't had it, what can they expect from that cigar?
Throw to Kevin. Kevin, what do you got?
Yeah, Kevin. As Willie decided to check out because he wanted to drink more freaking Week of Peat. So
You go for that.
Well, I'm burning the Corona Viva, which is my favorite size, but I haven't had a Churchill in about a year. So now that Neil's burning one, I'm going to have to request some. But basically, with this, you're getting a little bit more of a kick than you would from the initial blend of the Undercrown Maduro, which was our first of all the Undercrowns. Basically, I mean, you can't go wrong. It's a medium plus that's balanced, but just a little extra kick. I love the 46 ring gauge. That is my wheelhouse. Pretty much 40 to 46 is where I go for my comfort zone. I do smoke some Toros here and there, a handful of Torpedoes, but this is it. This is the way to go. And it's pairing so well with the Balveni. The retrohale on this with the Week of Peat is unbelievable. Seriously, I'm not a peaty guy, and I'm loving this. And I'm going down the rabbit hole now. I'm not going Mezcal yet. Definitely not going Malort, but there's going to be more Scotch in my future.
There you go. So K-Mac, I mean, part of living, what we live and breathe every freaking day is our beautiful cigars, right? And as we introduce amazing spirits with them, is that experience.
Absolutely.
And Willie, you're back on, brother. That Undercrown experience, man. That
Yeah,
Undercrown
sorry, my
experience.
internet for some reason today is
Heard. So talk to me about the Undercrown experience, and then we've got that beautiful Balveni Week of Peat that you've got in front of you, brother. How's that working for you?
bro. That Underground experience is that opportunity to really experience Nicaragua, man, because you're smoking something that the people from the factory, people from Esteli, created for them. You're smoking their expression of what a cigar is intended to be, and that's what they smoke day in, day out. They created that, they stand behind that, and that's their cigar. So every time you pick up an Undercrown, you could basically say, man, I'm going back to Nicaragua. I'm going to smoke this because that's what they are smoking day in, day out, and it was created by them, man. So it's a beautiful cigar, man. Earth, rich, spice, sweet. I mean, it's got a little bit of everything, man. And when you pair with the Balveni, how is it, Balvini or Balveni? Finally, I've always called it Balvini.
It's neither, Willie, but it doesn't matter. The first one sounded good, so it's all right. The
It's
part time
Balveni.
ordering.
Well, I'm Cuban, man. So I have that inherent speech impediment, man.
Hey man, I'm Scottish, so like we can't say shit. Every word we say comes right from the back of our throat, and so we're clearing it every time.
So I'm gonna hit like Neil. Man, fantastic, brother. We're having freaking accent battle. Here we go. So Neil, how's that Churchill working for you, brother?
Perfect. Like I honestly, I don't go with a smoke like this. I find like a lovely weight for me. I like generally a bigger smoke. And I thought often, with our peated whiskies, it might be a bit too much, but shit, the sweetness of the Balveni just balances out the smoke and it just elevates to like that factory feel, doesn't it? It gives you a little bit more earthiness. It's giving you all that, and shit, I'm very happy. It's been a long time since I've sat in a balcony and had a smoke and a drink. So I hope I hope the sound's still okay out here because it sounds like it's
The sound is beautiful, but I need to know, is it balcony or balcony?
Balveni.
My man. So listen, man, I am super honored in not only by Neil being our guest tonight, but by Willie being our guest tonight, by K Mac being our guest tonight. But listen, we've got to get to our questions, and this is the Ask Frankie Dranks portion of the show for people to win their beautiful Zycar cutter.
Yep.
And tonight, Willie, we're honoring you, brother.
I
We're
see
giving
that. I
out
see
these
that.
beautiful Herrera Esteli hats, brother,
Not-
because you're giving us tales from the factory floor, man, and the beauty of the importance of the people that make it, and guys, on the Balvenie side, uh, like Ian Miller, that said, hey, we want to do something special and different. um and I know that's what makes us and what makes these beautiful brands with their beautiful expressions. So I'm jumping into the Ask Frankie Drink section. This is it, man. But
What?
before I do that,
Yes.
and with that,
Yes.
because this is a staple of what we do, Jack,
You're here for.
right? Before we do this,
Yes. The
it's
Ask Frankie Dranks portion of the show is brought to you by
by the Joey Drew
Mezcal Minute.
Mezcal Minute.
There you
So,
go.
Yes.
Joey Drew,
Whoa.
take it away, brother.
This is ridiculous stuff. If you can find it, you need to scoop this up. It's a Habali. It's a really crazy agave. It's a bitch to distill this stuff. It foams up when it's being distilled. It creates a giant mess, and people hate to make it, but it's delicious. It's like this juicy fruit gum acetate, and it's yummy. Mark my word.
And with that,
Now you can
my man Neil, you are not to reveal your secret location, but you are in San Diego, where you can get some of the world's best mezcal, because that's where they link it into
Yep.
that beautiful market. So if you find that Ray Campero Habali, stick a little bottle, man. You might love it.
I'll blame like the sore head the next day on Joey. Not a problem.
Not a problem.
Hey Joey,
My man.
that right there is a new name for a stick, man. You know what Javali means?
It's like a little wild boar, right?
Uh-huh. There you go.
There you go. Hey, listen, you guys maybe witness everyone tuning to Sticks and Sips or
The
watching
birth.
this, at the birth of the Drew Estate Habali. Don't go to the US PTO before we get this. Willie, make a call to our boy Rich. We gotta jump on this, man.
Old
I
man
like it,
trademark.
man.
It's already been broadcast. It's ours.
I could already see the artwork that Joey will come up for that thing, man. Oh,
Yeah,
sick.
it's a foamy fucking pig.
The big
And I dropped the first F-bomb on this show. Thank you very much. Only 57
That's
minutes
funny.
in. So I honor myself.
How that was not me that dropped the F bomb, I do not know. Gosh.
Dude, the Scottish guy didn't drop the F-bomb before me. I'm quite honored by this. But here we go. Joey, you had your Mezcal Minute. And now it's Ask Frankie Drank. So, Celestino Zamora, congratulations. You are our first winner. What's your opinion on the best drink to make with the Balveni? And remember, that's Balveni with an extra E and then the IE. Celestino, man, no, in all honesty, I learned to drink the Balveni neat. Was one of the most beautiful experiences I ever had with it. I will credit one of my true best, closest friends. Uh, when he learned, Neil, you know, that I could play U2 songs on the guitar, he ran out to the liquor store, came back with two 12s and then a bucket of ice and forced me to play U2 songs for the next 4 hours. And this is how we spent our evening. Uh, this this is how we do it. And you do it if you're in South Florida, you do it on some ice, which I've got some right here. If you're in colder climes, I would say have it neat with a little bit of water, opens it up as well. But I've enjoyed it in every way, shape, or form. So Celestino, listen, enjoy. I don't believe it's a cocktail maker. I believe he just sucked that motherfucker down. All right, I'll move on. Chris Duque,
Frank,
as
whoa. You can't be throwing that shit around and not let me jump on, you know?
oh no, man.
I got my picture on like the advert for this. That question was surely coming towards me. So, gentleman asking the question, you drink it any way you want. As long as it's with good company, it's spot on. I'm enjoying mine just now with a good old Coors Light. So whatever you like, but definitely it's an expensive way to make cocktails, but it makes a banging old fashioned. I had a lovely cocktail named after me in a bar in Singapore called the Madman that was champagne and Balveni basically. So like there's loads of ways of doing it, but honestly, just drink it with good company and ideally a really cheap lager because that is the pinnacle of how it should be enjoyed. And that's how we do it in
Nice.
Scotland.
Well, listen, man. The day that we can all get together, we'll do.
Do the
My
Met.
man Joey Drew, he's doing Boilermakers with the 17, and we'll do that shit all fucking night. So we'll do as we do and enjoy as you do. That's really the bottom line of Celestino. Congratulations. Listen, man. Next question. We got Chris Duque. Since it's after 20 month, any cocktail recommendations? Are you saying it for a future show? Listen, if you're gonna do an acid 20, um, Chris, I'm gonna just call you out right now. Pick up the Caribbean cask, but you got a boatload of flavors that are gonna explode on you, and the acid 20 has got all these beautiful botanicals that are going to explode, but it doesn't have that over sweetness on it. And you're going to have that beautiful expression, that beautiful combination, right? That combination that makes a great compliment. So, Chris, congratulations, brother. You got our 6 swag. We love you, brother. And great question. Next up, we got Asada. Asada, congratulations. Just purchased a 17-year double wood Balvenie. What cigar would you suggest I pair it with? Uh, listen, Neil, we got people buying, brother. We got people buying into the world of Balveni, right? Or Balveni or Bal whatever. But we love it. And Asada, listen, you've picked up one of the most delicious expressions. And Neil, tell us about the 17, brother.
Yeah, so the 17 Doublewood, for everyone that's listening, sadly has now been discontinued.
Mother.
No.
Well, I'm just going to have to call you guys all out for being motherfuckers because people weren't drinking it enough. That's why it got discontinued.
We were drinking it.
Well, we were drinking it, but there's only so much we can do. And but in all seriousness, I think it was a little bit of an awkward price point. It's great whiskey, and really for me, it's my whiskey that I like to sit down and chill the out with. That if you see me out in the club and I'm drinking 12 and 14, I'm getting litty. If I'm in the club drinking 17, I'm being a good boy. I'm being reserved that night. I've got something on the next day. So really, what I'm wanting is that leather chair. This honestly, I'd be happy with this.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
I would say the Norteño with the double wood, the Norteño. I think that was
Norteño.
yeah.
Joey, I'm thinking T52, brother. I'm thinking T52 with that 17. It's like we're just living luxurious.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. No, it'll work. Look.
Works.
Or an H99, but we know what that's all about because
I was
people
saving
can't
it for
get,
after, I was saving it for after the show.
you know. So Asada, congratulations. Great question. Next we got Brent Larson. What makes Balveni stand out from other Scotch whiskeys? And that's Neil question, brother.
that's definitely mine. You're more than capable of answering that one as well, Frank.
Don't let him answer your fucking question. You take it.
So really for us, the difference is people. And we really feel the difference between good and great whiskey is that human eye and hand. And when you look at the world of whiskey in every part of process, if you look at oak, 70% of all the flavor, building that cask out of something natural, a computer can't do it. It has to be that human eye and hand that can alter and tweak it to make it perfection. And we really feel that's a difference. But as an old bartender, I used to have to offer up a lot of scotches to individuals. I worked in Scottish bars. And I would always pick the Balveni as a fantastic entry level to Scotch because it doesn't have any of like the aggression that some Scotches has on big flavor notes, but it's also got a slightly softer alcohol on some of them. The 14 that we're drinking today is 48.7%, but the 12s, 14s are a little bit softer and they make it very easy. But you go into any distillery and you say you work for Balveni, the smile that the distillery manager has. And from even a beginner level all the way up to an expert, you get just this smile with the Balveni. And people really just believe that. They love the quality of the Balveni, that it's easy anytime drinking whiskey, that throughout a range there's a time and place for it. So it's just easy whiskey to enjoy, and it brings a smile to your face. So, and it's definitely, I think, whiskey that you should never think about too much. Crack a bottle open with friends, and we'll leave it at that. And
Well, listen, now
that bottle will probably go down. You might need a spare bottle if you're drinking it with good friends.
listen, I don't have good friends. I have like questionable ones. So with that, we'll move on.
No, I'm going to say 3 bottles then. If you've got questionable friends, and I'm looking at the little squad.
I've got friends in low places, man. I've got friends in low places.
We're going to get on so well. So well together.
My man. I've got, and this is this our last question? All right. So C. Robinson the third. I'm gonna shoot this over to you, Neil, because I'm not taking responsibility for this question. It says, is it technically wrong to put a large rock, and large rock means ice, in Scotch? I prefer mine chilled but not watered down. So listen, man, this is the quintessential question of the evening as you duck into your room. What do we do? What do we talk about ice, man?
So, I moved to Asia 6 years ago, and I thought to myself, you'll drink whiskey with ice. And I remember my first night I tried whiskey with ice. It was shit. However, that's only a personal preference. In Scotland, if you put ice in your whiskey, you look like an arsehole. So nobody really does it. However, in Scotland, it's a lot colder than somewhere like Florida or California, where I'm in just now. And if you want to drink some ice in your whiskey, great. A big ball dilutes less, so it cools it more. And you won't get it so watered down. But the only thing that, for my job, a lot of it's going to be tasting, educating people on our whiskey. What happens with ice is it numbs all the flavors in the glass. As soon as you cool it, all of those active flavor molecules that you can pick up just by nosing away numbs it. So honestly, I drink my Balveni pretty much straight, unless I'm a little bit hungover, where I add a little bit of water to it. So you will see me from time to time adding water to it. That softens the alcohol, but lets you have some of the lighter notes to it. Um, but unless you're judging the World Whiskey Awards, who cares how you nose and taste whiskey or how you drink whiskey? You just drink it with good company, and that's the most important thing. But like honestly, if as he said, if he likes it cooler, a big ice cube is great because there's less dilution on it. If you really want to go risque, get those whiskey stone things. They are truly, I think, one of the most dangerous things in the entire world. The price of teeth in America, I cannot be putting rocks in my glass to drink it, or I'm going to be losing teeth. But then you get the chilled with dilution. And if you really, really want to hear good old Scottish bollocks stories, you would say, "Oh yes, we'd put the we'd we'd put the stones from the stream in our glass to cool our whiskey." Absolute rubbish, I can assure you. There's never ever been anyone in the Scottish Highlands that one has probably had a glass with him on the mountain. Why the hell would you? This is a perfect vessel for drinking straight. And then secondly, to get a stone out of a stream, you'd have to stick your hand in it. You don't want to be freezing your hand on the hill, so you'd be glugging it out of the bottle. But honestly, other distilleries I've been at tastings where they've frozen their whiskey. You drink it however the hell you want it, but just make sure at some point you take a little bit of time just to appreciate the hard work straight, especially if it's a new bottle. But other than that, you want a cube in there, you go at it, please.
All right. Listen, you guys got it from the most expert opinion, and I couldn't. There's no way I can deviate from what you're saying, my brother. This was truth given to you guys from that. And listen, I'm gonna go around the horn one last time. Joey Drew, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I might have to come for another refill.
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't need you worked up, man, because the beauty of the week of Peat or the Peat of Reek or the Reek of Peat, because we're doing all combos here. Listen, man, we love it. We love it. It's such a beautiful,
Amazing expression. Amazing expression. And I'm sad
beautiful.
by the loss of the double wood. I think we should raise a glass to the double wood.
All right, so I'm gonna raise a glass to the double wood.
The double wood.
I'm gonna pour myself a
It's
real tiny pour, and then I'm gonna go to
gonna sit
every
down.
freaking
You gotta
liquor
put it
store
aside.
that I can get my hands on
Yeah, you gotta put it
to go
aside.
get some
You can't-
double wood. And I'm gonna ask my man Neil. You better let me know what's gonna replace this, homie, because this shit's fire, regardless of whether people buying it or not.
Mm-mm.
Well, the problem is now that everyone knows it's gone, people are buying it. So
It's gonna be a run.
Mother.
yeah, it's shocking. It's shocking. But we've got something up our sleeve. Don't you worry. We've got something for you guys. And if you look back at some of the kind of favorite limited bottlings that we've released in the past, there'll be essence of some of that coming through in the next one. And it'll be don't worry. When was the last time you had a shit Balveni? Never. So
Never.
Never. So I haven't had it yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be good.
My man, my man. So, Slancha, to everyone out there, right? I'm gonna go to K Mac, my man. Dude, this was your big debut. You had like two sentences. I'm giving you the form, brother. What do you want to what do you want to say, bro, man?
Well, I definitely enjoyed the week of Pete, and I've had the 12 and the Caribbean cask already, which was spectacular. Definitely enjoying the retro hail on the Undercrown Maduro with this, and I'm definitely going for more of this down the road. And when I get to Scotland, I will not be an arsehole. I will not be putting rocks in my glass.
Yeah, but
No,
more
just put river
importantly,
stones.
but more
River,
importantly,
river
when
stones.
when Neil comes to Cigar Safari with us,
Get me on the
will
trip.
he be putting some ice cubes in his lovely Balveni?
Hey, and the beauty, Frank, he's gonna have his Tonya and is ready to
Oh
just go
man,
down.
Tonya Chaser.
he's gonna he's gonna have a
Salud.
Tonya, which is the Nicaraguan lager, man. Listen, Neil. There's no way. Listen, it's 3.5 hours on the bus, brother. You got to take down at least a 6 pack
Easily.
because you gotta pee something out like halfway through, and we all that's part of the process, right, Willie?
Part of the initiation, man. You got to down a six
Oh,
pack of Tonya on the way to the factory.
I think we need a
hell
Balvenie
yeah.
flight on the way down. Maybe the 12 double wood, followed by the Caribbean cask 14, and then we'll go to the 14 on the week of Pete. Sounds like a great trip to me.
Hell yeah.
Gents,
You got 3 hours, Neil. You got to make this happen, brother. You got to make this happen,
you just name the day and I'm there. I
my
am,
man.
and
Listen,
it's sounding like
and listen.
something that we might forget is what we might have to just blur from our minds. It sounds like a really fun 3 days.
It's
Oh yeah.
not,
Cross our
man.
fingers for spring
It's
2022.
freaking hell, man. It's these motherfuckers like going out like two cigars at a freaking time, on a bus all the way through, and smoking as much Liga Privada as they can get their hands on, and this is what it is. And if you introduce a high-end whiskey, they'll be sucking that down too. And what a better I can't think of a better pairing for the experience. So, my man Neil, I can't wait to host you down there. And listen, COVID ain't stopping us, man. We're gonna look to the future and to better days ahead. Um, and Willie, man, Willie, dude, listen, Mister. I'm afraid of Pete.
Not
This
anymore.
was my this was
No
my
more fear.
choice. This was my choice. Where you at, brother?
Hey man, I'm happy to be here, bro. And once again, thank you for another great introduction to the spirits world. And you washed that fear away once again.
Dude, that's my job, man. And that's my man Neil's job, to introduce you and make it part of that journey. And as
Right.
our master blender, you're super respected, my man. Um, to give you a little bit of a view of what this world is like is an honor,
Thank
and
you.
to match it with our Undercrown Maduro, because I thought that would be the nexus, right? The nexus
Yep.
between the week of Pete, the beauty of the Valveni, the beauty of our Undercrown into our Undercrown Maduro. Is kind of capturing all of it, and I'm super glad that my man Neil has enjoyed it, that you have acknowledged, yes, this works, and my man Joey Drew sucking that shit down like they know
He's ready for
tomorrow.
another refill.
Yeah, I know. So, listen, this is it, man. This is the end of Sticks and Sips. Jack, am I allowed to go off the air finally? So, here you go. Uh, everything, guys. Support your local brick and mortars. They're still coming online. Support your local bartenders, your local spots. These are the guys that give you the hospitality that keeps you going. And as we're moving forward, keep supporting. Find us Instagram, Drew Estate Cigar, Frankie Drinks. You can find Neil Strachan and N Strachan 87, I think.
It's a shit. It is just a shit Instagram. Find me on linked on the post. I need it sorted. Just it's some shit. You'll see it on the links on Instagram.
My man, my man. Listen, tag the stuff on the mine. I got my man K Mac. I got my man Willy Herrera. I got my man Joey Drew. And listen, man, the bar is closed, right? Make sure you tip 20%, right? And I'll see you next week. And listen, you guys wanted Pete? I got Pete for you. We got a Ardbeg next week. You can't lose. My man Cameron George coming in. Tune in, man. We're going down the rabbit hole, Joey. We're going down that rabbit hole. All right. So
Scotland is closer to Oaxaca.
yeah, dude. We gotta do a Scotland Oaxaca thing, Neil. Everybody's invited. I don't know how we'll do this. We'll take a month off. Fuck it. Join us. I appreciate it, you guys. Salute.
Cheers, Phil. Good riddance.
Good
Good riddance.
Remote broadcast. Salud.